Hi again. Welcome back. Let me make sure everything's all straightened out and ready to go. Alright, today we are doing another two sections, and we're going to start with section 2.13, and it is called decimal division. We're going to put our little name and stuff on here just like we normally do. Just in case if we lose it, we will be able to find it and figure out whose it is. We'll put our name, we'll put the date, which is 9/27. Wow, it's almost October. And we're going to put notes 2.13. And our big topic today is decimal division. And that basically means long division. Now See, I shouldn't talking right. Division, like that. Long division. Now, I'm a little bit rusty on my long division, and long division is very time-consuming for every problem to do. So we don't need to do it for the whole year throughout all of our math assignments. But these two assignments today, we're going to do decimal division, and then we're going to do estimation. We are going to have to show all our work, and we are going to have to long divide. Because I want to make sure that you know the algorithm, how it works, and how to do it. Now, I'm a little rusty, so I'm pretty sure I'll know it and do everything fine, but be prepared for me to make a couple mistakes, okay? So just saying that out here. Okay, when we are setting up our long division, this is kind of what it looks like. So say I'm going to have, 12 divided by 4 equals, right? Okay, so the different parts of this problem have different names, just like products and sums and add-ends. When we're looking at division in particular, it has names for everything. Looks like this. We have our dividend divided by our divisor equals our quotient. Never remember how to spell quotient. T-I-E-N-T, like that. Dividend, sorry. So we have our dividend, which is a 12 in this case. We have 4, which is our divisor. We're seeing how many 4s can go into 12. And then our quotient is kind of the answer. It's how many groups we were able to make. So if we were going to use this, now this one we could do in our heads, 12 divided by 4, 4, 8, 12. Okay, I know that it's 3. But if I was going to set this up in a long division looking style, it would look like this. I would have my divisor here. I would have my dividend. And I would have my quotient up on top. So it would look like this. 4 divided by 12, with my quotient on top as I get to the answer. Now, this one is easy, like I said before, but we are going to be doing much more complicated setups for our math today. One thing I want you to notice, and leave a comment if you care, or let me know up in class, is that I changed my lens on my camera a little bit, so it should be much clearer, I hope, down here on the paper, and it shouldn't be nearly as blurry. If I still need some work to make it a little less blurry, let me know, and I will do the best that I can to fix that. Alright, we have some steps here for checking to make sure I can see them in my paper. For when I'm long dividing using decimals. Now, this is 7th grade, so I hope we all remember how to long divide. I know that we all don't, so I'm going to do like 3 or 4 examples. We'll see how much patience I have of doing this, and we are going to have to go over the rules for how dividing with decimals is different than when you're doing just regular ones. Alright, here's our different rules. Steps for dividing with decimals. First step, we have to move the decimal point of your divisor to the right as many places necessary to turn it into a whole number. So we're going to turn divisor into a whole number, but note how many places you move the decimal point. Then move the decimal point of the dividend the same number of places. We have 4 steps. Then ignore temporarily the decimal points in the dividend. And divide normally. And our last step. In your answer, insert a decimal point directly above the decimal point in your dividend. Oops. Q-U-O-T-I-N-T. Okay, let me just refresh. Step 1. Turn divisor into a whole number, but note how many places you move the decimal point. Number 2, move the decimal point of the dividend, this one, the same number of places. So we're going to turn this into a whole number, scoot it over, do the same thing with the dividend. Ignore temporarily the decimal point that we put in the dividend and just long divide like normal. And then wherever the decimal point is in our dividend, we're going to add it directly up into the quotient. Let's look at a couple of examples to do it that way, because I don't think I was barely able to keep that in my head, and I'd be very impressed if you could. So let's take a quick little example. Example 1. Divide 4.6 divided by 2.3. Alright, so here we're going to need to label the little pieces. Now, when you're doing this on your homework, you don't have to label the pieces, but I'm going to do it in my examples. So we have here is our dividend. Here is our divisor. So our first rule is we need to turn our divisor into a whole number. So I'm going to scoot my little decimal point over to 23. Now if I move the decimal point 1 point here, 1 place, I need to do the same thing with my dividend. So now I have 46 divided by 23. Now this has no decimal points in it, which is totally fine, and I can set up my long division like normal. So I can write it like this. 23 divided by 46. Now this one's pretty easy. I'm not going to need to do a lot of long division here, but it's important to see how I just move the decimal points over. Now I can ask myself, how many 23s go into 46? And I can test. 23 times 1 is 23. 23 times 2 is 46. Oh, that was easy. It's times 2. And remember, then I can do 23 times 2 is 46. Subtract. Nice. I have 0. That means I'm done. I have found out my answer is 2. Now in 46, I do have a decimal point right there, right? So I could move it up to my 2, but we typically don't add information like that I don't need to, because again, mathematicians are lazy and they try to write as little as necessary so they don't have any extraneous information. Okay, good. One down. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 goes like this. It's a little bit different. We're going to look at the question of 9 divided by 2.25. Okay, so again I have my dividend and my divisor. Okay, then let's look. What am I supposed to do again? Turn the divisor into a whole number, but note how many places you move the decimal point. Okay, I'm going to turn my divisor into a whole number, so it's going to move 1, 2. So I have 225. And I moved it 1, 2 places over, I remembered. Step 2 is move the decimal point of the dividend the same number of places. Oh, okay. So I moved my 9 2 over, but I don't have any numbers there. Oh, but I can really write 9 like this forever, right? Because I can always add zeros to the end of a number. So if I'm going to move that decimal point over on the 9, I'm really going to get 900, because I just moved it over 2 places. If I was going to move it over 10 places, I could do that too, because those zeros can always come in whenever I want, if it's on the far right side of a number or on the left. It doesn't actually change the value of this number. I still have 9. But now I have 900, so I really have 900 divided by 225. And I can set it up like this: 225 divided by 900. Now this one, again, I'm not going to have to long divide on, because our main focus was looking at how these numbers change. So I can look at, 225, my bad, goes into 900 how many times? Let's do a little guess and test. I'm going to guess 3. 225 times 3 is 15, 6, 7, 6, 675, close. Let's do 225 times 4 is 20, 4 times 2 is 8, 9, 10, 0, 4 times 2 is 8, 9, 900, looks like 4, so I can put my 4 as my answer. Nice. Now I can move my decimal point up just like before, except it doesn't really matter, because as a mathematician, again, I'm not going to write down extra information. Alright, let's look at another example, and this one I'm going to have to long divide on, so I'm going to go start on a fresh paper, because you know how I love to kill trees, and you know how I love to take up way more space than I really needed to. Alright, let's take a look at this one. Okay, let me find one from our homework that we're going to be doing. We're going to look at this one. We have 3.375 divided by 2.25. Okay, so again, I'm going to look. I've got my dividend, and I've got, dividend, and I've got my divisor. Alright, so I need to turn my divisor into a whole number, right? Because that was my first rule here. Turn divisor into a whole number, but note how many places. Okay, I'm going to move it 2 over, so I have 225. I'm going to do the same thing with my dividend. 1, 2. So I have 337.5. So I'm going to divide, and it's going to look like this. Okay, I have 225 divided by 337.5. Okay, so now I have a decimal point in my dividend. So I need to remember what I'm going to do. Ignore temporarily the decimal points in the dividend and divide normally. Okay, I can do that. 225 goes into 337 once, right? So I can't fit it into 3, I can't fit it into 33, but I can fit it into 337. Then I ask myself, 225 times 1, I know that, it's pretty easy, 225. Because remember, I always add it down below. Then I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2, 3 minus 2 is 1, and 3 minus 2 is 1. And then I'm going to drop down my new number that I have down here. I have a 5. Now, there is a decimal point there, but remember, I can ignore it. It doesn't actually matter or affect me here at all. So I'm going to see how many 225s can fit into 1,125. I'm going to have to do a little bit of guessing testing. I'm going to guess 4. Let's see, 225 times 4 is 20, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10, 4 times 2 is 8, and 9. Oh, 900. Close. Let's look at 5. 225 times 5, 25. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Ah, look, and that works out beautifully. Nice. So I'm going to put a 5 up on top, and then I'm going to write my 1125, subtract, and I've got a 0. Beautiful. When my 0 shows up, I'm done. Oops, I shouldn't have put a box around that. That's not my answer. I have my answer up here. But before I put my answer in, I have to look at number 4. Insert a decimal point directly above the dividend, well, just notice finally, in the quotient. So notice how I have my decimal point right here. I have to move it up and slide it right in there so it stays in line. And now I have my answer of 1.5. Nice. Let's do another one. If you feel comfortable on long dividing, you can stop here and go on. If you are still a little bit confused as to what I did with all this magic up here, you can maybe do a couple more. And might help you get back and remember. I'm also going to link a Khan Academy video in the homework as well, and that gives a much more, just another example of how to long divide, because I find that it's often useful to give as many examples as possible. Okay, let's take another look at this one right here. We're going to divide 3.96 divided by 1.2, okay? So I'm going to look again. Okay, this number here has to be a whole number, so I'm going to slide my decimal point over to 12. I have to do the same thing to this number over here. I have 39.6. I'm going to line it up, and I have 12 divided by 39.6. Okay, let's see how this goes. How many 12s can go into 3? Well, it doesn't work. How many 12s go into 39? I would guess 3. So let's do 12 times 3, which is 36. Nice. So I'm going to put my little 3 up on top. 12 times 3 is 36. And then I'm going to subtract. I've got 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. I'm going to drop down my new number to 6. Nice. Oh, that 36 really reminds me of my 36 I just did. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 3 up here. 12 times 3 is 36. So I'm going to subtract. 36 times 36. 36 times 36 is 0. So I've got my answer. But before I write my answer, I've got to look at step number 4. Insert a decimal point directly above the dividend. So if I have my decimal point here, I have to stick it right in here. So now my answer is 3.3. And that gives me my total of how many things fit in there. I'm going to do one more. If you really want to watch, you can. If you don't, if you feel like you get it, then don't do it. Example 5. This one we're going to round to the nearest tenth, then divide. All right. We have 4.721 divided by 2.465. Okay, first we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So let's look at this guy. This is going to be our rounding digit. So I'm going to look to the right. It's a 2, so I get to keep it the same, 4.7. I'm going to look at my tenth again. Right here, it's a 4. I'm going to look to the right. It's a 6. Oh, if it's a 6, that means I have to go up. So that gives me a 2.5. So I have 4.7 divided by 2.5. Nice. Okay, let's take a look. Before I can divide, I almost forgot. I have to slide over my points and make them equal. So I really have 47 divided by 25. Okay, let's set it up and do this. 25 divided by 47. Okay, 25 goes into 4, not at all. 25 goes into 47. Well, I know 25 times 2 is 50, so it's not quite 2, so it's going to be 1, right? So my 25 I can write below. And now we're going to subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I don't have a 0. That means I need to keep going, but I have no numbers to bring down. If you'll recall, I can add in my decimal point. I can put in as many zeros there as I want to kind of long divide forever if I really, really choose to do that. So I'm going to bring down a 0. That gives me 220. Okay, let's see what I can guess. Well, I know 25 times 4 is 100. So I'm going to guess 8. 25 times 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 2 is... 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 200. Nice. So I'm going to put a 4 up here. Oops. And I need to make sure I keep my points in line. I don't want to get confused that way. So I've got 200, which leaves me 20. Well, I got to bring down another 0. Awesome. I've got 200. I've got a 0 right here. 25 goes into 200. I know that one. 8 times. I can put an 8 up there. And multiply out. I already know. So I'm going to do subtracting by 200. Gives me 0. Nice. 0 means I'm done. So my answer of 148? Not quite. I'm going to need to bring up my little decimal point a little bit higher. But that isn't right. So I made a mistake somewhere. Because here I wrote a 4, and I really should have written an 8. Sorry about that. Oops. So I really have 188, but I need to move that decimal point up a little bit higher. So I have, not very beautifully, but you know, I make mistakes too, 1.88 as my answer. All right, good luck.